Let us now look at an example where we have the convertible preference shares. There's a company called KK Enterprise that has a net income of $250,000 and the number of outstanding shares has been provided as 100,000. So along with the common shares, the company has issued 1,000 preference shares of 5% $100 par value, and in addition to this kind of preference shares, the company also has 500 convertible preference shares of 5% $100 par value again, and each of them will convert into 40 shares. So we need to calculate the basic EPS and the diluted EPS. So let's look at this. Let's try and calculate the basic EPS first. Basic EPS is nothing but the net income minus the preferred dividends divided by the outstanding weighted average number of shares. So in this example, we have this net income as 250,000. The preferred dividends. Now the preferred dividends are actually coming from two places. One, there are 1,000 preference shares, 5% $100 par value. So this essentially means that the total amount 1,000 preference shares multiplied by the par value, which is 100. This is the total amount of preference shares which are available in value, and out of which 5% of this is payable as dividends from the first class. So 5% of this amount comes out to be 5,000. Now let's look at the preference dividend that comes from the convertible preference shares. So these are 500 convertible preference shares, and the par value is again $100, and the dividends are again 5%. So this comes out to be 2,500. So this is net income. We have the preference shares. The preference shares dividends would be the sum total of these two, and we also have the weighted average common number of shares, which is already being provided to us. So let's calculate the basic EPS. This is 250,000 minus 5,000 minus 2,500 divided by 100,000. So this number comes out to be 242,500 divided by 100,000. So the EPS would be equal to 2.425. So this is your basic EPS. Now let us look at how our diluted EPS will look like when the convertible preference shares will actually convert into 40 shares. So let's look at that case now. Let us now calculate the diluted EPS. Now diluted EPS is defined as net income minus the preferred dividends, and I need to add back the convertible preferred dividends in this case, and this is divided by the total number of weighted average number of shares, common shares, plus the number of shares upon conversion from the preferred stocks. So I'll write this as conversion from preferred stocks. So let's calculate using this formula. Earlier we had done this, the numerator 250,000 minus the preferred share dividend with respect to the first one was 5,000, and preferred share dividend with respect to the second one was 2,500. So this was the original formula. The bracket denotes that this was the amount, first dividend and the second dividend from the preferred shares. Now we need to add back the convertible preferred dividend. So basically whatever we have subtracted, we need to add this back. So this would be 2,500, the addition, and the weighted average number of shares, common shares are already, these are 1,000, 100,000, plus if each of the convertible shares convert into 40 shares, so how many total number of shares will be released? This would be 500 multiplied by 40. So this is basically 20,000 shares will get released in the market. So this is basically 20,000. So here the numerator comes out to be, we subtract these two, so the numerator would be $245,000, and the denominator would be 100,000 plus 20,000, so this is 120,000 here. So if we can calculate this quickly, this will come out to be $2.05. So what has happened essentially is that basic EPS was $2.425 and our diluted EPS is essentially 2.05. So what has happened is your EPS has gone down. In other words, diluted, and that's why it is called as diluted EPS.